deaths annually, which are the total deaths, which is more than the total deaths breast, prostate, and colorectal cancer combinedly constitute. NSCLC is the leading cause of lung cancer, constituting around 85% of the total lung cancer cases, and only 30% of the patients are presenting in a early stage, which are going to be resected. And we all know that early lung cancer can be broadly divided into very early stage and locally advanced. Early stage is basically stage 1, and 2 and 3A are locally advanced but still resectable. Surgery is the primary treatment for early stage NSCLC, and after surgery, adjuvant cisplatin-based chemotherapy is given from stage 1B onwards, that is tumors more than 3 centimeter. So after surgery, 4 cycles of cisplatin-based chemotherapy is the current standard of care. And we all know that adjuvant chemotherapy trials have shown a 5-year OS benefit of constituting a hazard ratio of 0.89, and which is for the OS, and the DFS hazard ratio is 0.84. And overall disease recurrence and death following surgery and adjuvant chemotherapy, even with the best standard of care, is dismal, remains high across all disease stages. So if you are seeing the stage 1B, the 5-year survival, the 5-year recurrence rate by stage is 45%. Means almost half of the stage 1B are going to recur in 5 years. And in stage 2, around 62% of the patients are going to recur. And stage 3, around 76% of the patients are going to recur. And next slide, 1 minute. And if you are seeing the EGFR mutation status, whether it is stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3, it is the same, it is spread across evenly. So, and if you are seeing the race pattern also, Asians have a relatively high number of EGFR mutation compared to the white population. So if EGFR TKIs are available in the resectable setting, a similar proportion of patients may be able to benefit compared to advanced setting. That is the logic behind adding EGFR and EGFR treatment in the early resectable stage. And ADAURA trial, the inclusion criteria is patients above 18 years. In Japan and Taiwan, above 20 years were included. WHO performance status 0 and 1 were included. Exon 19 and exon 21 mutations were included. And complete resection should be done because it's a post-operative trial. And maximum interval between the surgery and randomization, 10 weeks without adjuvant chemotherapy and 26 weeks if you are using adjuvant chemotherapy. And it is stratified as per the stage, EGFR mutation status, and as per the racial patterns. And randomization 1:1 with osimertinib 80 milligram once daily and placebo in the comparator arm. And the primary endpoint is the investigator assessed DFS, and the secondary endpoints are DFS in the overall population. Since it's an adjuvant trial, DFS is a better modality for the endpoint. So these are the inclusion criteria. We all described that post-operative stage 1B and 1B up to 3A. Central conformation of exon 19 deletion, L858R should be there. Standard post-operative chemotherapy can be given, but it is not mandatory. Complete surgical resection should be done, and treatment should to be started no earlier than 4 weeks following surgery. And brain MRI or brain CT scan prior to surgery should be there. And another thing is that prior exclusion criteria, no radiotherapy should be given. Pre-operative chemotherapy or EGFR TKI should not be given. So the time between the surgery and randomization not more than 10. If no adjuvant chemotherapy was used, and not more than 26 weeks if adjuvant chemotherapy was used. And wedge resection and segmentectomy. Wedge resection and segmentectomy, people are not allowed. Means lobectomy patients are only included. And male and female patients were evenly distributed in placebo arm and osimertinib arm. The median age is around 60 to 64 in the osimertinib and 62 in the placebo arm. Asians and non-Asians were evenly distributed in both the arms. And WHO performance status 0 and 1 were also uniform in both the arms. And adenocarcinoma and other histologies were also evenly distributed. Adjuvant chemotherapy, 60% in the osimertinib arm received adjuvant chemotherapy, and in the placebo arm, equal number of patients received adjuvant chemotherapy. You can see the DFS. It is the hazard ratio is 0.17 in the stage 2 and 3A, and in the primary population. In the overall population, it is also equally impressive. Hazard ratio is 0.20, and there is a very big separation between the curves. Right from the start. Okay. There is 83% of the reduction in the risk of disease with the osimertinib, 80% reduction in the risk of disease recurrence or death in the overall population. The 2-year DFS was consistent for osimertinib across the disease stages. And if you are seeing the
recording in progress,
if you are seeing the hazard ratio for the DFS, whether it is stage 1B, 2 or 3A, it is all highly impressive. If you are seeing the subgroup analysis, all the subgroups were very much benefited. If you are seeing that the smokers are much more benefited compared to the non-smokers, and if you are seeing the higher the stage 3A, the hazard ratio is much more impressive than the early stage. That is very much expected because those are much more going to be beneficial compared to the very early stage, which are otherwise also cured. If you are seeing the adjuvant chemotherapy, those who are taking adjuvant chemotherapy is slightly better. And if you are seeing the overall survival, which is not the primary endpoint, but if you are seeing that there is a slight separation, which is not matured at present. So if you are seeing the OS of osimertinib compared to the placebo arm, the OS is not matured in both the arms. So we cannot comment about the OS at the current juncture. What are the other trials which are using EGFR TKI in the adjuvant setup? Select, you can see that you can broadly divide these trials into two categories: those who have taken the adjuvant chemotherapies and those who have not taken adjuvant chemotherapy. So if you are seeing the select trial, erlotinib after adjuvant chemotherapy plus minus RT, the 2-year DFS is 88 years compared to 76% is the historical control. And the RADIANT, again after adjuvant chemotherapy, the DFS improvement is there. It's a global trial. And the EVAN, it is erlotinib versus adjuvant chemotherapy. So both the arms are not receiving adjuvant chemotherapy. Here also there is a DFS improvement. And Sitong presented recently. This is also Geftinib versus adjuvant chemotherapy. Here also DFS improvement is there, but there is no OS improvement. And BR19, here both the arms are receiving adjuvant chemotherapy, but this is a negative trial. So why ADAURA is a highly positive study? Because it has got very good CNS penetration. CNS is a common site of distant recurrence among patients with EGFR mutation NSCLC receiving EGFR TKI. In the adjuvant RADIANT study, 37% of the recurrence in the EGFR mutation NSCLC treated with erlotinib 37% of the recurrences in patients with the EGFR mutated NSCLC treated with erlotinib had CNS involvement. So that is one of the reason for failure in the adjuvant trials using the earlier generation TKIs. But osimertinib has got very good CNS penetration and it crosses the blood-brain barrier. In the advanced NSCLC, first-line osimertinib demonstrated superior OS survival and a 52% reduction in the CNS progression. That is in the metastatic setting compared with the erlotinib and geftinib. So this bar chart is showing that in the osimertinib compared to the placebo arm, the osimertinib arm 11% of the patients in the osimertinib arm have DFS events compared to the placebo, which has got 46% DFS events. And if you are seeing the recurrence pattern in the osimertinib arm, it is local recurrence only in 62% compared to 39% in the placebo arm. And distal recurrence occurs only in 38% of the osimertinib arm. So what this slide is trying to say is that if you are using osimertinib in the adjuvant treatment, the less number of distant recurrences are seen. And whatever recurrence are going to be seen, most of them are local recurrences. So this is the slide which is explaining osimertinib has got very less CNS events compared to the placebo. Most of them are lung and lymph node events. So 6% and 3% respectively in the lung and lymph nodes, and CNS events are very less. Here again, the CNS occurrence is 1% compared to the placebo, and CNS DFS in the overall population is disease-free survival is very high compared to the graph is almost flat in the compared to the placebo. What about the adverse effects? We all know that serious adverse effects are very less in osimertinib. We have used it in the advanced lung cancer, and any adverse event grade 3 and more are only 10% in the osimertinib arm. And which are the side effects? We all know that diarrhea, paronychia, dry skin, acneiform rashes, stomatitis, decreased appetite are seen. But if you are seeing the dark green, dark blue thing, which is the grade 3 and more, it is very less. Only 2% of the grade 3 and 4 diarrhea, and stomatitis also very less. And if you are seeing the adjuvant chemotherapy use, adjuvant chemotherapy so overall 60% of the patients received adjuvant chemotherapy for a median duration of 4 cycles. Majority of the patients received platinum chemotherapy, and mostly in stage 2 and 3A patients. And stage 1B is still a gray area. Only 26% of the patients received adjuvant chemotherapy. And most adjuvant chemotherapies were employed in the Asian population in the given study, and that too in less than 70 years of less than 70 years. And whether the patient has received adjuvant chemotherapy or not, the osimertinib arm, the DFS in the osimertinib arm is equally impressive. Those who have received adjuvant chemotherapy, the median DFS is not reached. In the placebo arm, it is 22.1 months. And those who are without adjuvant chemotherapy, the median DFS is again not reached, and the hazard ratio is 0.23. And the placebo arm, it is 33.1 months, and the hazard ratio is again impressive, both the groups. There is a very big separation between the arms. The DFS is 89% at 2 years in the osimertinib arm compared to 49% in the placebo arm. Without adjuvant chemotherapy, it is again 89% in the adjuvant in the osimertinib arm compared to 58% in the placebo arm. So if you are seeing the subgroup analysis, whether they are taking adjuvant chemotherapy or not, everything is to the left of the median. And here the subgroups are not statistically powered to compare. So we cannot get if you are seeing the last column, the stage 3A with or without adjuvant chemotherapy, we cannot get a difference, because if you are seeing the hazard ratio of adjuvant chemotherapy trials, it is almost 0.84, something like that. So the study is not powered to show the difference in adjuvant chemotherapy with the subgroups. So it's a description of what I have told you earlier. Stage 1B, the hazard ratio is still not not reached. Without adjuvant chemotherapy, it is 0.38, and stage 2, it is much more impressive. Stage 3A, there is a wider separation of the curves. And if you are seeing the hazard ratios of the DFS, is 0.13 and 0.1, very, very high. And if you are seeing the median DFS in the stage 3 population, it is almost 3 times in the osimertinib arm compared to the placebo arm. So if you are seeing the quality of life index, not much difference between the placebo and the osimertinib arm, and the compliance rates were also high in the osimertinib arm. So it's also a description of what we have discussed earlier. The deterioration of physical and mental components summaries. The placebo and the osimertinib arms were overlapping. There is not much difference to choose. So there is a relatively good quality of physical and mental health component, whether it is osimertinib or placebo. So to summarize today's presentation, adjuvant osimertinib is the first targeted treatment in a global trial. We have discussed all the trials. This is the biggest trial, multi-continental study, which has shown a meaningful improvement in the DFS in the 1B, 2 and 3A EGFR mutated NSCLC. There is a 80% reduction in the risk of recurrence or death in the osimertinib arm. Their DFS hazard ratio is 0.2. We have discussed that it is one of the most impressive study of adjuvant treatment in the modern era. And the 2-year DFS osimertinib versus placebo is 89 versus 52%. And there is a very good clinically meaningful improvement in the CNS DFS compared to the placebo. And safety profile is very much tolerable. Very mild EGFR class effects were reported, and median duration of osimertinib is almost 22 months exposure. So most of them are completing the adjuvant course of 3 years. A clinically meaningful DFS was observed in the patients with or without adjuvant chemotherapy. So whether the patients are taking adjuvant chemotherapy, the DFS hazard ratio is 0.16 and 0.23 respectively. So what this study has shown is that if you are using adjuvant osimertinib after adjuvant chemotherapy, the relative benefit of adjuvant chemotherapy is getting negated. So if you are seeing the adjuvant chemotherapy hazard ratios something between 0.8 and 0.85, it is getting negated if you are using adjuvant chemotherapy because of the margin of benefit of adjuvant osimertinib is much more. So here, if you are using in this ADAURA study, if you are using the adjuvant osimertinib, the hazard ratio of the patients with adjuvant chemotherapy is 0.16, and without adjuvant chemotherapy, it is still very impressive, 0.23. High disease recurrence was observed in among the patients in placebo arm who received adjuvant chemotherapy compared to those who didn't receive chemotherapy. Is because of the disease stage itself is a prognostic factor. And another thing is that the subgroups are not statistically powered enough to compare with each other. high quality of life was maintained with the adjuvant osimertinib arm with no meaningful difference in the quality of life with the osimertinib arm compared to the placebo, despite the prolonged treatment of 3 years. So adjuvant osimertinib will provide a highly effective practice-changing treatment for stage 1B and above EGFR mutated NSCLC after complete tumor resection. That's all. Thank you.